I just want to thank you. I'm Deb Fantasia from Northeastern Dining Services, and we are so thrilled to be here tonight with this program for you. This is in celebration of our 10th anniversary of the Xhibition Kitchen, which is located in Stetson Hall across the street. I hope that everybody has had the chance to come to one of our demos. In the past 10 years, we have hosted more than 300 events in that space. We knew tonight's event was going to bring all of you, so we decided to bring everybody to Blackman Auditorium because of the chefs and senior editor of Food and Wine magazine, Dana Cowin. When they came to us, probably around August, Dana's people came to us and said, would you do an event with Dana? And we said, of course, yes. And she said, can we invite the 3 local chefs that we feature in Dana's book? And of course, we said yes. So we are so delighted to have our XK alums in the audience, too. We have Sheila and Marilyn Brass. We know you're out there. Marilyn, happy birthday. They came... Marilyn is an NU alum from in the 60s. So we're so happy to have them back. They've been the chefs in our kitchen probably the most. They've been there 8 or 10 times with their 2 cookbooks and another one with a deadline on Monday. So again, thank you guys for coming. It is homecoming and Red and Black Day. So thank you to our homecoming committee, and I want to thank everybody that brought this event and made it possible. Tonight, we're honored to feature Dana Cowin, Senior Editor-in-Chief of Food and Wine magazine, Joanne Chang, Kristen Kish, and Ming Tsai. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dana. You probably already know a little bit about Dana. Dana Cowin, Food and Wine Editor-in-Chief since 1995, has been covering the world of food, wine, style, and design for over 30 years. She sits on the board of directors of City Harvest, a New York City hunger relief organization, Wholesome Way Foundation, dedicated to providing access to sustainable foods, and Hot Bread Kitchen, an organization that helps train low-income men and women to join the culinary workforce. In 2012, Dana was inductee into the James Beard Foundation's Who's Who in Food and Beverage in America. She is an alumna of Brown University. So without any further ado, here is Dana Cowin. Let's give her a big hand.
Thank you. Hi there, thank you so much for coming. I am so excited to be in the mobile exhibition kitchen. The team that has put this together has done such an incredible job, and I just want to say thank you for that. I'm excited to be here with 3 stellar chefs who helped me with my book, as Deb said, Ming Tsai, Kristen Kish, and Joanne Chang, because I've carried around this secret, which is that even though I have been the editor-in-chief of Food and Wine magazine for 20 years, I never actually learned how to cook. When I got my job as editor-in-chief, nobody said to me, so, do you know how to edit a magazine? Yeah. Do you know how to cook? No one asked me that. Like, that wasn't the follow-up question to, do you know how to edit a magazine? So I did take one class once, because when I got to Food and Wine, I was only the executive editor, and I took a knife skills class. But then I swore to myself that I would never humiliate myself in a class with other people, and so I would be learning some French technique, and the person next to me would be saying, oh my God, that's the editor of Food and Wine. She's taking cooking classes, that's scary. And so instead, I sort of just got through the cooking that I was doing. I entertain all the time. I cook for family and friends, and I'd make mistakes, excuse me, and I'd try to hide them. I'd hope they ignored them, and they did. But after a while, I decided that I had enough confidence in myself and in the readers, that the readers were not going to say, I don't want to read this magazine anymore, she doesn't know how to cook. And I wasn't so worried that the chefs were going to say, I don't want to be in the magazine anymore, she doesn't know how to cook, that I decided instead of humiliating myself in front of a small class of people, I would humiliate myself in front of a large class of people and do a cookbook, because at the end of the day, I am a proxy for the Food and Wine reader and for all readers everywhere who, when they get into the kitchen, they make mistakes. It doesn't come out perfectly every time. They don't have the technique. And so getting the advice from 65 chefs, I've now put this knowledge into a cookbook that I'm sharing with all of you. And you can read it. But tonight, what's super incredibly special is that we get to do some of this in person. So I'm going to bring out Ming Tsai. Ming Tsai. Ming Tsai. Ming Tsai. You just wanted to...
Hello.
Hi. You just wanted to get loud enough, didn't you?
Okay.
Yeah, chefs wanting to get really loud. So because, you know, through the course of my book, I did indeed learn to become a better cook. But I thought what might be most useful for all of you is if Ming did the cooking. He was surprised by that. And I would share with you along the way all of the things that I did wrong, and Ming can tell us how to do them right. So you'll leave here with great recipes, but also great insight into how to avoid all the mistakes that I made and make perfect pot stickers.
Sounds like a plan.
It's a plan. So the pot stickers, the story of the pot stickers in my book is that years ago, about 7 years ago now, I was about to get treated for cancer. And I was really worried about the food that I was going to eat. And I thought I was going to be just a very, unhungry cancer person. But it turned out I was hungry all the time. And I was hungry for some of my favorite foods. And one of my absolute favorite foods was pot stickers. And I didn't want to order a takeout because I wasn't sure of the quality of the meat. By the time they got to my house, they would be soggy. And so I decided to learn to make them. But I had a lot of problems. I didn't have problems with the sauce. So you couldn't, you want to just whip together this.
First problem, she wasn't Chinese. There is surgery for that, Dana, but please continue.
Yeah. So the sauce I didn't really have a problem with, because the sauce is basically sriracha, soy sauce.
See, you said I was cooking.
I am.
You're going to walk me through it.
I'm going to walk you through it. Rice vinegar, sesame oil.
What? Because she spilled? There's so many hand signals I could do right now.
Oh, you're dangerous. You're dangerous. And yeah, you're behind me. And sliced.
Scallions.
And you're neat. And sliced scallions. That part I never messed up ever.
And you add water.
And I add some water. Thank you.
Why do you add water?
Just to thin it out. Why do you add water?
I don't.
Oh.
I drink water. But soy sauce can be salty. And vinegar can be really tart, so I can see how water's appropriate.
Okay, but then the pot stickers, this is where the troubles began.
Should we do it here?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, good idea. My first problem with my pot stickers was that the filling wasn't juicy. If you think about it, a pot sticker is really a meatball under wraps. And my meatballs were spongy. And so I went to Ming and I said, so how do you make the meat juicier?
Right.
And so we start with pork and shrimp.
Yeah, one key is really good pork, because pork is fat, and fat is flavor, and fat also will keep a pot sticker juicy. So that's key. And a good amount of scallions, because scallions obviously exude water. So that is another secret of keeping pot stickers juicy. Sometimes even cabbage shredded can go in. Dana did really traditional. She has garlic and ginger minced up. And she did, which I think is really smart, she takes tofu too. And smartly squeezes it out. This is in her book, because there's always moisture in tofu. So using just cheesecloth to squeeze it out. It's a great way to add protein and actually make it a little bit lighter. And it almost acts like, stealing a chapter from Joanne Chang's book, it's almost like butter in the sense that it creates pockets of air, because tofu really is just really light. So it makes it a more tender mousse, if you would. But I think this is key. What Dana talks about is get all this water out, because if you have too much, it can break from the inside, the pot stickers. You don't want too much water.
That didn't happen to me, but I'm sure it could. And Ming, when we were talking about this recipe, he said, adding vegetables just to keep it moist was really important. Yep. So in this case, we have the scallions. But I love that lesson, because it gave me other ideas.
That was soy sauce and sesame oil. And you'll hear this from every chef. If you're going to go through all this time to make whatever, crack your own black peppercorn, right? Because I guarantee you, how many people have a tin of black peppercorn? How many people took that tin and moved it to your next apartment? Right?
Or who put it over the stove?
That was made in New Jersey 4 years ago, and you've only used this much, and that doesn't taste very good, right? So the key is the filling, because if this doesn't taste good, and honestly, at Blue Ginger and Blue Dragon, we take a little teaspoon. The only time we use microwaves is to reheat coffee and to taste and test dumpling fillings and spring roll fillings and what fillings. So you can't taste raw pork and raw shrimp, but just give it that 30-second nuke, because if this doesn't taste perfectly seasoned, it's a shame you make 50 pot stickers and then find out it didn't taste good. Well, you just wasted a lot of payroll.
Yeah. I also discovered, this is something that chefs will tell you that I always ignored. I was like, really, why am I going to cook off a small patty? That just seems like a bit of a waste of time. But I was making sliders for Danny Meyer, who runs a bunch of restaurants in New York, one of them being Shake Shack. And I hadn't thought that actually a burger and a slider, they were kind of the same thing. So I was making sliders for the master of burgers. And he took one bite, and I watched this thought go through his head, which was, this doesn't taste right. And I could see it. And I was like, oh, no. And he asked me whether I'd cooked off a patty, and I'm like, no, really? Or he said, did you taste it first? And I very proudly said, no, because it was raw. and he looked at me and he said, you could cook a little bit. And I was like, oh, right, I could cook a little bit. So the next problem that I had was with the wrappers. So I had used frozen wrappers, and Ming said, no, Dana, you really should not be using frozen wrappers.
Especially if you live in New York or Boston or LA, San Francisco, you can always get fresh wrappers. And they actually don't even cost anymore.
No, they're actually, wrappers are super cheap. But why, Ming? Do you think that they're more flexible, more pliable?
Yeah, and they're a lot of times wrappers are freezer burned, so they're really hard on the outside. And why not? It's just like fresh pasta. If you can get it fresh, get it fresh.
Okay, so I learned that, and in fact, Ming's right. I have had freezer burned, and it's bad. How do you feel about round versus square?
For pot stickers, you need round.
Okay.
Square for shumai, because you kind of have the funky pleats.
Okay, so then the next thing that I did wrong was part of the key is to have the perfect seal. And so you take your finger and you put it in the water, and then you brush it along the edge, and then you fold it over. But my seal was a little imperfect, and what happens then is the filling pops out, which isn't good, or it had too much air. Now, Ming, you also, so when I told Ming this, he asked me how many pleats I was doing, and I said, oh, I don't know, I was just kind of, I was squishing them together, and he said, no. You corrected me that I needed to actually pleat my dumplings.
Yep, and the best way, you guys can see all this, right? So, the first rookie move is you try to put too much filling, right?
Right.
But the other rookie move is there's not enough, because then you're eating all dough. So you have to have the right amount. And the right amount, usually you can just get it closed, and you close it so it's a perfect kind of half moon. Then I pleat the center, and you really squeeze it. That really glues it. And then I go to the left, down 3 or 4 times, and then to the right. And again, you got to make sure it lines up. Then I go down this side. And then I usually put a little, just kind of a semicircle shape to it, because if it looks like that, you can charge 20% more. Because machines can't do that.
No,
Seriously.
no, they can't fold them sideways. So I was really proud of my pleats, and then Ming said, you need 8 of them for good feng shui. And I was like, 8? I'm never going to get 8 in a dumpling of this size. So how many did you get there?
I got 9. I feng shuied plus one.
You're,
oh yeah,
you're a total
Northeastern,
show-off.
right?
1, 2, 3, 4. So I got 5. And Ming told me the minimum acceptable was 5, so that's what I've got here. And then you also told me to tap them.
Yep, just drop
Ding,
them
ding,
once.
you drop them.
You have to have the pot sticker flat.
What about all the air pockets?
Yeah, the air, see, that's key. So that's like here, I'll do it again. So I am pleating this up, and at this point, you got to make sure the air is squeezed out. And you can, at the very end, you leave that little hole, and you got to squeeze that air out. So that would actually work, but it would open up, because water is not a protein. You can also use egg wash.
Yes.
If you want to introduce egg into the pot sticker, and if there's egg with water, then that actually is the best glue. But it's really not needed because we're pleating. Right?
Right. Please, it's a fashion statement. Okay, so then the next problem that I had was that when I made I tried to get the bottom seared, right? Because you want your pot stickers to have a sear on the bottom, and then I wanted the filling to be juicy, and then I wanted the rest of the pot sticker to be pliable. But that just never happened for me. Basically, everything would turn out soggy, and that was just that was sort of a bummer.
Yeah, especially if you take all this time, money, and energy to do it and have soggy. You might as well order your Chinatown pot stickers delivered, right? The key is, it actually goes back historically how pot stickers were invented. Like Reese's peanut butter cups, it was an accident, right? It was during the Ming Dynasty.
Oh, well, of course it was.
Oh, yeah, duh. For the record, we did invent everything. No, we did. We invented Japan.
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Yes.
We invented food and wine. Not the magazine.
No.
But the head chef was making dumplings, which were traditionally always just boiled, for the emperor, and he forgot about them, and the water boiled away, and the dumplings stuck to the pot. And the emperor's like, I want my dumplings. He's like, no, wait, I need it, because the emperor wants them now. So he took a spatula, unstuck them, served them that way, literally thinking he's going to be beheaded, because this is it's all about pristine and white and perfect. Of course, and the emperor's like, dude, whatever you did. He may not have said dude, I'm not sure. Dude, that's Chinese. I speak Chinese. And he's like, whatever you did, always do it this way.
Wow.
Right? So.
It was a very open-minded emperor.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're using a nonstick pan. How do you feel about that?
I think nonstick's fine. It's not cheating. Nonstick is a good way of going for a home cook. In all seriousness, and this is the hot tamales taught me this, Susan Vinegar and Mary Sue Milligan. Yeah. You never heat a nonstick without oil in it. Right? There's actually gas that comes off of this Teflon that, I don't know how they discovered it, that is very bad for you. They claim it can cause Alzheimer's, and it kills birds.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know.
Bad.
I mean,
Okay.
I've killed a lot of chickens, but it wasn't from Teflon. So that's the drawback of Teflon or nonstick for me. Because normally, if this is a regular pan, it would have had it much hotter till the oil's dancing, right? You added the oil dances, and then it would be a faster process. But this is a more sure way of the dumplings not sticking, and then you have to scrape it.
So they won't stick, but are they going to get brown? I really want the brown color.
Oh yeah, they'll get totally brown.
You think so?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Well, there's
And
700 people that get brown.
And
So we're gonna wait.
We're gonna wait.
You can hear the sizzle. It's starting to sizzle.
It's all about the sound, apparently. So one time I was really impatient, and I was trying to get the dumpling off the pan, and I had the spatula, and I was going under it with the spatula, and it wasn't finished. And I was in the kitchen with Tom Douglas in Seattle, and he was like, "It doesn't sound right yet. Did you hear the sound?" I'm like, "Sound? I'm cooking. Like, there's no music to this." And he's like, "No. The dumplings haven't spoken yet." And the dumplings, they needed to sizzle at me.
So these are slowly coming.
They're just gonna slowly come.
A true story. We have a crispy calamari and blue ginger.
Yeah.
When I train the cooks, I say, "Close your eyes," and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Close your eyes." Calamari hits, and it's a fish sauce thing, and then it's a flour, makes that noise. And at a certain point, there's a decrescendo when enough liquid is gone. It goes. That's when you pull it. Because oil changes throughout the whole evening, so 3 hours of oil is going to brown it faster. You can't go by color. You can never pull it out. Once you pull it out, you put it back in, you have tough calamari. It's the hardest dish in the world of any culture to cook. Because it's under 30 seconds, over 30 minutes, and you have to nail it. Because undercooked calamari is horrible. Overcooked is even worse. But close your eyes and do it. You'll be amazed.
Wow.
So.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that's good. So, should we pretend now?
Well, these two rabbis walked into a church. One was
And they
red
said
state,
this
one
was-
was blue state. No, I don't do that. I can't. I never do political jokes publicly because half of you are wrong. Other Massachusetts, only a third are wrong, or 20% of you.
Okay, so then the other.
We were so excited on the conference call yesterday. You're going to meet the president. I'm like, Obama's coming? That's awesome. No, it's just your president from Turkey. Very nice guy, though.
Okay, so then what are you going to do next?
I'm waiting.
Steam.
I am just waiting for this to get a little bit darker. These are good, but I'm really waiting to get really GB&D, golden brown, delicious.
Oh.
And these are obviously still raw, right? But what you want to do is wait till these get nice color. Then you actually take water or chicken stock. And this is when you have to have a cover because it will splatter. And then that water will steam. Of course, this great crispiness I just got here will then get all soggy. But
I experienced that. It's really
right,
true.
Then it
Yes.
gets soggy. But then there you do listen. You listen until there's no more boiling water. You let the water evaporate. The oil has nowhere to go, so oil's still in the pan. It will re-crisp the pot stickers. And then you're in business.
Okay, so then the other thing is, so let's say all that happened, magic of TV, which we're not really experiencing, which is the magic of Ming. So if those were stuck to the pan, how are you going to get them off without tearing them? Because that's my last error with pot stickers. They always tear.
With anything, with scallops, with salmon, on a grill or in a pan, if it sticks, don't touch it.
Really?
Let it get croustillant. Let it develop its own crust. It will eventually unstick itself.
Really?
It will. Yeah. I mean,
It's
that's...
going to unstick itself before it burns?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sure. All right, so that's looking pretty good, right? And it's okay to, this is not cheating. It's okay to look at them, right? So
And apparently it's okay to, like,
you have to move them around because
Wait.
for some reason we don't have even. This is like Jenga. Which is almost as fun as Chugboat. Do you guys play Chugboat here at Northeastern?
apparently not.
No one plays Chugboat? Oh my God, how old am I? All right, so this is pretty darn good there, right? So we're just gonna wait because you just can't have one. So then you take your water.
Water.
Oh, here's water. I need that pasta order from Chinatown. All right, so now you just add, yeah. Oh, there we go. That will help. So then you add a little of the water, right? And it's so key to have the cover because oil and eyeball, ouch.
And the other thing that I was taught by chefs for many things in the kitchen was be sure that if you're putting the lid down, that the lid is sort of facing you so that all the splatter can go
Hit you.
hit you.
No, it's true though. But
Yeah.
you would be a wall, right?
Right.
So, no, that's really true. And especially when you're checking it, don't lift it towards you and check it,
Yeah.
right? Lift it up this way, the steam escape, and then check it. But here, you can really hear it. There's water still here, so you don't have to lift it. And you also don't want to lift it because that steam is cooking then the whole wrapper up top. It's steaming it. And most importantly, it's cooking the pork and the shrimp.
I think that's great. I think that you've done a great job. I think we're not going to wait for that to finish because
Yeah, we bring in the next person.
we're going to bring on Kristen Kish.
Okay.
So, Kristen Kish,
So basically, I just got chopped.
you got shot. No, you got, come on, Kristen Kish. Do you have something to say about pot stickers? Come on, Kristen Kish.
I'm gonna say, I mean, really, WTF, which means, where's the food?
Where's the food? We're gonna let this. We'll let this simmer.
Is Kristen
a little.
gonna work here?
Kristen,
Yeah, am I coming out?
you're gonna come out.
Come out, yeah, we're gonna do this together.
I didn't know if that was my cue. Shit in my pocket. Am I eating one?
Well,
you can come here.
if they're cooked.
You can put your hand, no, I'm gonna turn this on. You work, I'm just gonna stand here on
What
the
am I
sideline.
doing?
You're doing your chicken dish.
Oh, we're doing that now.
Yeah, we're cooking. This is
Oh,
a cooking
you're gonna-
demo.
I don't have any of my stuff though.
That's why you're gonna come hang out with us.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So what do you think?
So
How do
the-
you make pot stickers, Kristen Kish?
I don't make pot stickers.
That's great.
I'm not Asian.
Isn't this great?
Farthest thing from
Kristen's not Asian.
No, I'm not.
Okay. She actually is Hungarian.
I am. My father's Hungarian. My mom's like white bread English. The norms. And I was on Ming's show, and I did a Hungarian cabbage dish because that seems more comfortable than kimchi. So it was good though, right? You liked it.
Oh, it's
Here, you want
awesome.
this?
No, we're giving you your meats.
Oh, great. I need my knife and all my tools.
How long does that take?
We'll go right
Can we
through
get
Joanne
the-
Chang's biscuits.
You think so?
Hot one.
No. I mean, you can see the steam. I'm going to wait till the steam disappears, and they'll be done.
I'm gonna get a facial while you're
like
cooking.
first. So, Kristen, you can put your pan here.
Thank you.
I'm going to move over here.
My pants are falling down.
Yeah, I have that
Sorry,
problem.
I-
all the
I-
time.
sometimes you forget you're mic'd when you think these things in your head. It doesn't really work out very well. Anyhow. Okay. Wonderful. Oh,
I
that's-
love being surrounded by chefs. You know, at Food and Wine magazine, I get to be with chefs, but surrounded by them. Great chefs on either side of me. I'm really loving this.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you guys for coming.
It's like an Oreo.
Thanks for the free subscription. We're getting a free subscription, right?
Are we?
I hope so.
Are we?
I can't afford food and wine.
I keep getting those emails saying, please come back to us. And I'm like, I didn't go anywhere. I'm so but can I use this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can I get chicken?
You get anything you
Schmuck
want.
Wonderful.
I'm Chinese. We do laundry.
Okay, great. So does a Korean.
Oh, you're Hungarian.
I
You
know,
do laundry.
I know.
That chicken is
So
so
my-
pretty.
I am. Or
Cri-
you said the chicken. And then you said, you're so pretty. I said, I am. That's funny. Never mind. Continue. This is going great.
It's good
Yeah.
because we're gonna start now. So Kristen is going to help make. Well, actually, she's going to do all the work, of course, and I'm just going to talk to her a little bit. She's going to make chicken with Riesling and peas, and the recipe that I started with when I did this for the book was a recipe from Jean-Georges von Gerichten, a great chef who has an empire but has a restaurant called Jean-Georges in New York City. And he starts with the whole chicken, and I was like, no way. And Kristen's like, totally. We are absolutely starting and breaking down the chicken.
Start with it. Okay, so when you're breaking down a chicken, always buy the whole chicken. Like the stuff that's cut up, you don't really know how long it says. It has a little stamp. They lie. No, they don't. I'm just kidding. Trust your local grocer. So anyhow, but it's good because then you have all the different kinds of meats. Like if you just want to use the breast for one night and save your legs for wings and
Save your legs for wings?
Save your wings for wings. Like throw them all in the freezer, let them freeze up. Once you get a dozen or a couple dozen, just fry them all off, and you have great snacks. Anyhow, and then you have the carcass. So then you can make your own chicken stocks, which I will refuse to buy them. I understand that people do, but I cannot.
Okay, but here's the thing. So I did try when I made the Jean-Georges, recipe originally to cut up the chicken, and I was like, it took me longer.
like to try?
No, it took me longer to try to cut the chicken than the recipe was supposed to take overall.
Really?
Well, the chicken, I mean, not really, but the chicken was fighting me. This
Okay.
chicken's not fighting you at
Because
all. Why
this
is
is
that?
the thing. So you have all these joints, right? And there's little road maps and little lines that you can follow. So the legs, just crack the joints. It's like, think about when you pop your arm out of your socket, you know? Like, it just
I have it all the time.
pops right off. And then with this, especially, this I think is the easiest one, is because you have this line of fat here. And then if you cut kind of along that line of fat, you're cutting through the joint and not the bone. See?
I think part of my problem also is you have a really sharp knife, don't you, Kristen?
Well, I did sharpen it at home before I arrived, just so I wouldn't be embarrassed. Can you put a little bit of oil in there?
We.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks, Ming.
Okay.
5 seconds, 20 minutes.
Are they done? Can we see?
They're close.
They're not done yet?
Kristen, so there's a little
they're
bit of
beautiful.
moisture left, so I'm still waiting for that to go away. Kristen, inadvertently, when she moved her pan, turned off all the ovens.
Oh,
By mistake.
he's gonna blame it all on
It
me.
wasn't sabotage, it was just
Okay.
an honest Hungarian mistake.
Yes. Okay, so what I'm doing here is Frenching the
She's
bone.
getting so fancy. Let me just tell you that learning things from chefs in general, as I did for
Here,
this
switch
book,
me
they make things really more beautiful, but more complicated. So like she just Frenched the chicken like why?
Well, because
why?
it's beautiful. First, look at
She
she
made
looks
a
much
lollipop,
nicer.
a chicken lollipop.
And then also, sorry. And then also, why is everyone laughing at me? Can I have
Salt,
a
pepper, tongs?
shit knife?
Fork?
Beater
What?
knife, right in your left hand.
A wife beater knife?
beater?
No, not that. Beater knife. It's like what you use to like do your lobsters,
your wife?
and you don't really beater knife.
You can beat it.
Knife.
You can beat
Yeah.
the knife up.
Oh. I learned that on stage now. A beater knife that you can bang it.
Because
okay.
we want to take off this little nub here, and oh. I need a shit tray or something. Okay, wonderful.
Use that.
Thank you. Can that go in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can that go in
Anyways,
there?
so what I'm going to start to do is put our thighs and our legs in first because those are going to take longer. We're going to leave the bone in, darken meat. They need a little bit more time. And I don't want this heat or this oil to be smoking everywhere because what we're trying to do is render out the fat so it doesn't end in your sauce. And so when you're rendering, you want it that medium high, and just kind of slowly let it out, kind of like how you do bacon. If you threw it right in like a smoking hot pan, you'd burn the outside, and you still have all that fat. Did you turn my pan
He
off?
turned your pan off. I think it was
She's right.
retribution.
You
Okay,
guys have
so
class tomorrow? Anyone? You ain't gonna make it.
so when Kristen and I made this dish together, I put the chicken, just like she said, in the pan, and I was trying to sear it to render the fat, and I was really impatient. I'm like, isn't it seared now? I sounded exactly like a child in a car trying to, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And Kristen's like, no, we're not, no. And she just, I had two hungry children who wanted to know if we could start having pasta instead because this process was taking way too long. And, but Kristen insisted. She just held her ground. So Kristen, why were you so determined to not let me flip the chicken when it...
Well, because it wouldn't taste good. So again, obviously, and kind of like what Ming was saying about his pot stickers, like if you let it caramelize, let that flavor and the color develop, it will unstick itself. So if he starts touching it, do I turn it? Sorry.
You keep turning it off.
I didn't know we had to share.
You're not good at sharing, right?
So we're gonna go in, you should hear that. See, this is what it should sound like. That's
Yeah,
what that
I
should
know,
sound
but
like.
you keep turning off my oven. Sabotage.
And so I seasoned it just with salt. For this purpose, I'm gonna wait and then flip it, and then I like to do pepper. It's just a weird thing. I know it seems a little odd. Kind of like how I never put pepper on flesh side. I only do skin side because I think it looks ugly when you have black on your white chicken.
So I should use white pepper.
Because it's a different flavor.
Yeah.
White flavor, or white pepper kind of, I'm not
Good for
100%
seafood.
my favorite. But anyway, so this is where you were trying to rush it. And
I
you
was.
were,
I was like, okay, we're
she
done
wasn't
now.
going to wait. So now we wait. We wait for this, we wait for that, and we just wait.
And we just wait together.
Yes.
But,
can I use this?
Yeah, I'm heated for you.
thank you.
You turned it off, but I'll turn it back on for you.
How does this thing work? I don't understand.
Well, no, every time you
It's
put
a
the
touch
pan
system.
Here, it turns everything
Oh, well,
on.
isn't that a flaw in the system? Okay, so we have these wonderful
You
mushrooms.
can blame the tools, sure.
And what I like to do with my mushrooms, I like to double cook them. because mushrooms have a lot of moisture in them. So you want to stir them off one time, and a little bit of that water comes out, and then I drain them, let them sit in a colander, even more liquid comes out, and so next time when they hit the pan, you're starting to caramelize and develop flavor, as opposed to just steaming your mushrooms. Make sense?
Oui.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yes, chef.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Great, and so I'm going to add a pinch of salt in these, not to really season them, but the salt will help draw out that moisture. So. And unlike the pot stickers, like he was moving them around, he was checking them, we just want to put it in there and we want to forget about it for
For a while.
Yeah.
Except then, when we were making this dish, so finally, Kristen allowed me to flip the chicken. And I was so grateful. And then she said, but you're not done yet. You need to sear the sides. And I was like, sear the sides? Why do I have to sear the sides? You were making this a very difficult process, but you insisted because...
I did.
Yes?
And could you tell the difference?
No.
Well, we didn't try the other one, but...
That's true, because we only did it the right way.
Yes, exactly.
We only did it Kristen's way.
Which is always the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take a peek. It's not done, so we're not gonna touch it. So anyways, the rest of this stuff, is this on?
Yes.
Okay. So we have frozen peas, which I enjoy the frozen pea. I mean, in the summertime and spring, it's really nice to have the beautiful fresh English peas. But when you don't have it, when you want like beef stew or your chicken pot pies or all these hearty dishes, I think it's perfectly fine. There are many other frozen vegetables out there that I prefer not to use. Peas are not one of those.
Right, and also the freezing technology has improved so much, gosh, that there's so many things that are quick frozen that are sort of stopped at their absolute peak of perfection. So frozen's not bad at all.
Right.
I was a little worried that the peas were going to either be more mushy because they were frozen, or they were going to leach a lot of water. And Kristen's like, no, they're not.
They're fine.
They're fine.
I told her just make sure they're not freezer burn, and then we won't have any problems. So.
Yeah. So we've got freezer burn. How many of you have had freezer burn problems in your lives? Freezer burn's a horrible thing.
Yeah, and if you have freezer burn, you throw it away because it's been in your freezer too long.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just wandering at this point. I think I lost my spoon. That's okay.
Your what?
My
Spoon.
spoon.
Your
Would you
big
like
spoon?
another one?
Yeah, my nice one. If I lose it, I'm gonna have a problem at home.
Here, do you want one of these?
No, it's okay.
Here's a baby. I know you want your
Yeah.
big one.
I know.
Oh.
That's okay.
Here we have chopsticks. Do they have these in
Are
hung?
yours done yet?
No, well,
That is taking forever.
because the heat gets turned up. I'm pretty good cook, but no heat, no good. Here, you have these in Hungary. This is called chopsticks.
Oh,
Yeah,
Fascinating.
amazing.
I really don't know how to use them. Yes, I do. Okay, so we can start to see it's getting a little too dark for my taste, so I just turned it down a little bit. So everyone's in the kitchen, they need a recipe. It's like start on medium-high heat, and then you want to add like a teaspoon of salt and all this other stuff. If it doesn't taste good and it needs more salt, add more salt. If it's burning, turn your heat down. Like, use your instincts. Trust your instincts.
No.
Or buy her book.
No. I was going to say, so what I learned in doing this book is that it's very good
Should I
to...
turn it off again?
No. It's very good to trust your instincts if you have them, but if you have bad instincts, don't trust them, because they've gotten me into so much trouble. Doing things that seemed really smart to me, and then have ruined dishes.
So what I'm going to do is just take out the breast, because that is going to cook much faster. Leave these in for a little bit more. So you can transfer these into a casserole dish and all that kind of thing, but I think this one's really quite beautiful, and we're going to only stick with this, and you don't have to do another dish. Use tongs or something. I just don't like them.
Don't do what the chef does.
Would you like
Excellent. No, I don't use tongs.
I know you don't
They
use
are
tongs.
forbidden.
Yeah.
Normally I'd use my fancy spoon, but we'll use my hands instead. Okay.
So what spoon are we missing here, Kristen?
What?
What spoon are we missing?
She has a big.
Yeah, I brought it.
Yeah, I saw you stick it in your pocket too.
Is it in my pocket? It's okay.
You want me to look?
Oops.
So what we're going to do now is start to add these leeks,
Oh my God, these.
which are very important to clean because they grow up through the dirt and all this stuff kind of, all that dirt sinks into all the little rings.
Yeah,
so
I've
they
made
do
that-
need a little bit of love.
That's definitely a mistake that I've made, one you guys do not want to repeat, is the washing bench. Oh, I hear that.
Well,
Good.
so these are finally done, but just you can hear. You can hear how crispy they are. And this is the one last trick that we're talking about, is I hate what Chinese restaurants do. They put the pot sticker this way. No, flip it up. You just spent all this time trying to get the thing crispy.
That's
You put it
good.
down, you just ruined it, right? So flip your pot stickers. Show off how beautiful golden brown they are.
Those are lovely.
Well, thank
They
you.
look
I know.
fantastic.
I just got chopped and kicked off Iron Chef, but besides that, they were awesome.
Wait, you did?
Yeah, we didn't have redemption, like
Oh,
consolation.
right.
Whoa.
A winner is a winner. I'm still younger than you. It's fine.
You're definitely younger than me, but I'm more Chinese.
So wait, so there is, often when you make pot stickers, you make a huge number of them. In my family, when we make a huge number of pot stickers, I think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have some, and the kids can have them like throughout the week because I've made so many, and that never happens because they like the pot stickers so much. But in case you make a double dose, and you have some to freeze,
Yep.
because freezing pot stickers is,
So what my mom taught me to do is you actually do serum, get the color on.
oh really?
Yeah, she prefers, because if it's raw and frozen, it could take way too long to get it cooked through. And when you freeze anything, much more moisture comes out because there's ice crystallization. So then that extra moisture could then break the pot sticker. So she actually sears them, cooks them, leaves them in room temp, then freezes them. And then she just brings them back.
But I'm lazier than that. Are you sure that I can't just layer them like, on a sheet tray, like one by one so they're not stacked, and then freeze it that way?
You could, and then just use medium-high heat. Get this sear, because you really want it to defrost.
Yeah,
It'll be
okay.
fine.
But, and you have to put them in the pan frozen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put them in the pan frozen. Because if you let them defrost room temp, then they'll
Disgusting.
be all
They'll be
gloppy.
gluey.
Yep.
Okay, so, are we gonna continue
I'm
helping?
done. I'm just
You're done?
standing here.
So
Yeah,
can we
well,
say thank you to Ming
Oh, thank
for...
you.
Woohoo! So, but don't you need to try one?
Well, yeah, we should try one.
Let's try one. Here. You're gonna have to live vicariously through. Kristen, is cooking making you hungry?
Yeah.
Yes.
She does everything with it. She has Teflon fingers, so she doesn't need tongs.
We're hot.
What do you
Okay,
think?
yummy.
Good.
I like the recipe.
Thank you, Ming.
Really juicy. I actually love the tofu in there.
I should
Yeah.
say that they were based on Ming's. So Ming's done fantastic recipes in Food in My magazine over the years, and this is one of the ones that inspired me originally, and then I tweaked it a little bit, but based on Ming's genius.
Thank you. I'm not called genius very often, so thank you.
Joanne should eat some.
I'm getting one for Joanne.
Okay.
You're doing such a good job here.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
It's funny how Dana couldn't find any Caucasian chefs in Boston. Hey, let's invite Kristen, Joanne, and Ming. It's good for us.
Anyways. Great. Okay. Oh, it looks good. So all I did since, we've been eating and, doing that thing is add white wine or Riesling. You can really kind of use whatever type of wine you want. I'd stick with something a little bit more dry because as that sugar and all the alcohol reduces down, it kind of coats and you don't want that residual sugar sweetening up your dish.
Yeah, so Kristen takes my recipe and she's like, I don't really like the Riesling. I'm like, well, I don't really care if you don't like the Riesling. I like the Riesling. I think the Riesling's really good. I think that Kristen's understanding of Riesling is a little bit slim because
That's all my mother used to drink, and it was like syrup.
What was it, Blue Nun or something?
It was like
you
Sutter
need-
Home, the gallon.
Okay, so
She wasn't really a booze bag.
That's White Zinfandel.
No, she drank that one too.
Oh, yeah.
And wine coolers.
So I think that we need to just explain that there's amazing dry Riesling, and that would be fantastic in this recipe.
Agreed.
Do stay away from sweet Riesling because that would be disgusting.
Yes.
But there's also other white wines you could use if you wanted to keep it dry.
Perfect. So what the wine is doing, it's picking up all that fond that we've kind of started to build by searing off the chicken. All those
Can you
little
define
brown,
fond,
yes,
you
it's
fancy
all the
chef
little
person?
brown bits on the bottom of your pan. That's so much flavor, and it tastes so amazing, and it's worth scraping off the bottom of your pan. Like when you're roasting bones for chicken stock, don't put like silpad or parchment paper or anything like that. Do it right on your sheet tray. And so when it comes out, you drain off all that fat, you put a little water on, scrape it off, and you have beautiful fond.
You're very fond of fond.
I am very fond of fond. But it's also very important, too, after you add this, that you want to cook off all that alcohol in the wine. Otherwise, it's going to taste like you're drinking wine, which I guess in some cases is, it's not a bad thing. But
Ming wouldn't mind.
yeah.
No.
We should have sake for them or something.
Yeah.
What do the Chinese people drink?
Anything.
Great, yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is that wine kind of cooked down. We're going to nestle in all that chicken. And then you can cover it, throw it in the oven, or just do it right on your stovetop. This probably only takes 30, 35 minutes. Is that what it says in the recipe?
35 minutes.
Done.
Yeah.
Okay, and so when it comes off, pretend this is all done. We're going to finish with the peas. And they only need like 30 seconds to heat up. More seasoning. Oh, we pretended to add chicken stock at some point.
Yeah.
Just kidding. The cream, butter,
Can't do anything without butter.
butter, butter. A little bit more fresh pepper.
Kristen and I agreed that if you didn't want to do heavy cream, you could substitute some Greek yogurt, thickened Greek yogurt. It adds a little tang, but if you see a recipe and you're like, heavy cream, no, I don't want to buy heavy cream, particularly not for small amounts, you can replace it, and the recipe is still really good.
Yes, agreed. Remember when you asked me about this? Yeah. So in the restaurants, we don't really use those thermometers because they're pretty thick and they kind of puncture your food. You never know if they're calibrated. So cake testers, you can get like 3 of them for $1.99 or something. They're the most stolen object in the kitchen. I steal so many. And then basically, this is how we're going to test temperatures. With chicken, it gets a little interesting because it is very hot against your face. But when you're doing a steak or something, you put it in there, your body's 98 degrees, your medium rare 120, so it should feel relatively substantially more warm than your body temperature, and so on and so forth as you move forward. But with the chicken, you kind of just
Did you understand that?
No? Okay. This is a piece of meat. We're going to put it in and let it hang out for a little bit. And then you're going to take it out. I go right underneath my lip, or some people go on their wrists. And then given my 98-degree body, I can kind of gauge if it's 125, 130, 135, 140. So
Okay.
medium rare. It takes practice, but it's well worth it. I promise.
Wait, but what happens if we don't have your body?
Yeah.
Well, don't do it if you have a fever, then that's an issue. But we're all on average of 98 degrees.
No one's average.
No, it's true, very true. So this is definitely not cooked, and I put raw chicken in my mouth. But chicken is just going to feel hot, okay? So be very, very careful. Anyways, and then,
Ta! So you guys can
can you see it?
see that? There we go.
Is that you, camera?
I think we need.
Wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. We're just going to make it look a little bit more beautiful. Oops.
Yep, and we're gonna add a little bit of butter.
You're going to add butter to finish it because you want
Yeah.
the sauce to be silky.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's it.
That's it.
Very
so,
easy.
Kristen, thank you.
Thank you.
This recipe, when I did it for the book, working with Kristen, taught me the power and importance of patience. Because I was quite impatient with wanting to turn the chicken and not do the side. I was like, let's just keep going. And Kristen, in insisting that we stay the course, was putting flavor first. And I learned that throughout the book, the importance of just, if what you're doing is cooking, give yourself over to it. Don't be impatient. Figure out how much time a recipe takes and give yourself that amount of time. Don't try to rush because you're going to have less flavor. And in the end of the day, that will be more disappointing than having like 10 extra minutes to file your taxes. So would you guys like some chicken?
Yeah, I was wondering if we get any chicken.
I'm so going to give you some chicken.
Where's my spoon?
We'll help you.
Ooh, chicken and biscuits.
You can work in
Chicken
here.
and
Some
biscuits.
plates.
Oh, thank you. You work in the restaurant industry, don't you?
We need,
Yeah.
okay. It's a little hot.
Thanks.
Actually, I think I just need them.
Okay, so how many of you would make this dish at home, the chicken?
This is your, this is one.
No, it's my personal spoon. It's okay. I'll find it.
I'm sorry you can't taste it, but you can see it. Smells good. There you go.
And then the cold stuff?
I need some of the sauce. So, Joanne Chang has sneakily come up on deck here. Whenever I'm in Boston, I have to go to Flour Bakery. It's a little bit of an obsession of mine. And I leave with very, very heavy bags. And in fact, one time, which does not relate to this recipe that we're about to do whatsoever, I went to Flour Bakery and I bought pizza dough. And it was so silky and so fresh and so delicious looking. I brought it with me on the train to New York City. And
I remember this. You tweeted me. You said, "My dough, it's exploding. What do I do?"
Exactly. It was growing and growing and growing, and it was in a plastic bag, but it looked like an heirloom tomato. You know how they have those gigantic ridges, and it was just really, really big. And yeah.
So I said, "Punch it down. Give it a big punch.
Exactly.
And it'll deflate."
Keep punching, and I was like, I don't want to punch it. It's so beautiful. But yes. So thank you for joining us. I also love. How many people have cooked from Joanne's cookbooks? Yeah, her cookbooks are fantastic.
Thank you.
So Joanne's helping make biscuits, and many Sundays with my kids, we do this thing called inventions. My
That
kids
is a baker's worst nightmare.
Exactly. So what we do is we take out flour, butter, sugar, milk, and eggs, and we put them out. And the kids can do anything that they want with those ingredients. And if they're liquidy, then we sort of put them on a griddle and we pretend they're like crepes or pancakes. And if they're sticky, we put them in muffin tins and bake them. While they do that, I follow the recipe. I follow recipe instructions to make biscuits. But I have so many problems. Surprise. So I really want to have fluffy biscuits. Like my whole goal is to have the tall biscuits that are like warm and flaky and just, melt in your mouth. And that wasn't happening. I was actually getting pucks. So I went to Joanne and I was like, how can I avoid pucks? And then it turned out that I learned not only about how to avoid getting pucks, but so many other things, which we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
So can you talk about the dry ingredients that you just
So we have
put
the
in
dry
there?
ingredients. So the first thing is that we measured the flour ahead of time, of course, for this demo. But everything we measured was using a scale. And so that's something that's really important. When I was writing the first cookbook, I didn't know how I should put flour in the cookbook, like how I should weigh it out. Should I weigh it? Should I put 1 cup? Should I put 140 grams? What should we do? So what I did was I polled about 15 of the bakers at the bakery, and I said, I want you to measure a cup of flour. Like, here's a bunch of cup measurements. Measure a cup of flour, and then I want you to weigh it. And we took the range, and it went from 125 grams to 160 grams. And that was all professional bakers who just happened, with cup measurements, they were trying to measure a cup of flour for me because I was trying to anticipate what people at home would do. So because of that, I really learned how everybody measures flour differently. And so what you want to do is use a scale, because 140 grams is 140 grams is 140 grams. So that's the first thing, is make sure you use a scale when you're baking.
And this is one of those things, again, when I started out the book, the type of cooking that I do, I'm like, oh, the scale doesn't really matter, it's totally fine. But after cooking with Joanne and a number of other chefs, I really converted. I really believe in the scale. They're not expensive, they're incredibly useful, so I exhort you, buy a scale.
So then in here we have the dry ingredients are the flour, and then we have a little bit of salt for flavor, we have a little bit of sugar for flavor, and then we have baking soda and baking powder, which are not interchangeable. A lot of times people say, I don't have baking soda, can I just substitute baking powder? Like, no. They are absolutely not interchangeable. The baking soda reacts with the acid in your ingredient. And so in these biscuits, we have buttermilk. And so you want to make sure that you have enough baking soda to react with the buttermilk. And that's going to be one of the things that makes your biscuits really light and fluffy. And then baking powder actually reacts with liquid, any liquid. And so buttermilk is a liquid. So you get double leavening powder with both the baking powder and the baking soda.
So that was the little trick in this recipe, so that I could get double the height.
Well, and then we're going to get triple the height by working the butter in a very particular way.
Right, so another thing that I have never quite mastered is this combining the butter with the flour, because it always says combine to pea size. And I'm like, what exactly is pea size? And does everything have to be pea size, or like just a handful of it is pea size? And why am I making it pea sized anyway? And why does the butter have to be cold? And why does it have to be cubed? And I had all these questions, many of which I ignored when I was baking myself. And so Joanne had the answers to that because she's a great baker.
Well, all of those are really important aspects of the butter. So one, it has to be cold, because if it's warm or if it's melted and you mix it in, then you'll get something that tastes good, but it won't be flaky. And the reason is that I have this really cold butter that's in here. And what I'm doing is I'm working it into the flour. So you guys have all heard gluten, right? Everybody knows what gluten is nowadays. Gluten is actually the thing that makes bread really chewy, which is great if you're making a bread, but if you're making a biscuit or a cake, the last thing in the world you want is gluten, because you don't want a biscuit that you bite into and then chew and chew and chew, which is what it sounds like might have been happening to you.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do you prevent gluten from forming? Because again, gluten is that thing that makes bread really chewy. Well, one thing that doesn't allow gluten to form is fat. So here we have butter. So what I'm doing is gluten is in the flour, and what I'm doing is I'm coating all of the flour with a little bit of butter, which is fat, and that's going to protect the flour from the liquid, which is the buttermilk. Gluten forms when you take flour and liquid and mix it together. I mean, try it at home. Take some flour, add some water to it, and just mix it. And as you start mixing it, you'll start to see that it gets like a rubber band. But if you add fat to it, which is what we're doing right now, then it prevents the gluten from forming, and so then you get something that is not going to be tough and chewy. And the reason why you want to keep them pea-sized, and this is also very important, so see, you can see that the flour is no longer white. Like if you look at this flour versus this, this has,
true.
It's yellow,
Yeah.
and this is whiter, because now it's been coated in butter. And then you have all these little pieces, these little pea-sized pieces of butter. And this is very important too, because all of these little pieces, when we mix in the buttermilk, and let me just go ahead and do that now. So now we're going to add the buttermilk, and then just take a wooden spoon. And all of those little pieces of butter are going to get mixed into the dough, and you'll see it when we roll it out. There's going to be little pieces of butter. When the butter goes into the oven, so then we're going to roll out our biscuits, we're going to cut our biscuits, and then we're going to put them in the oven. And then when the butter goes into the oven, butter is about 85% fat, and then there's about 10% liquid in there. So butter actually has water in it. So the water, when it goes, so the butter, when it goes into the oven, when the biscuit goes into the oven, the little butter pieces, which have water in them, the water part turns to steam, and then the steam poofs up, and that's what makes your biscuits flaky. Okay, so the
next problem that I had, I clearly have had a lot of problems, but was I know I was supposed to get my dough shaggy. And I just could never exactly understand what shaggy meant. So Joanne helped explain shaggy to me.
So shaggy means you don't want to mix it all the way. A lot of times people are worried that their biscuits are tough, and why are their biscuits tough? It's because it gets overmixed, and so even though I've coated a lot of the flour with butter, there's still some flour that's unprotected. So if I keep mixing, all that buttermilk is going to mix with that flour, and it's going to make tough biscuits. So I don't want to overmix. So what I do is I mix it till it's shaggy, so it looks like this, and then dump it out onto your work surface. And this is a great trick just to make them super flaky. So there's still a lot of flour, and it doesn't really look like a biscuit dough. So you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to mix it together, but I don't want to overwork it. So how do I mix everything together? And so one trick that we have is rather than mix it, is we actually just fold it on top of itself 3 or 4 times. And by doing that, you're basically combining the dry with the wet, but you're doing it in a way that doesn't overwork the flour, and then you're also creating all of these layers.
This is a really super good tip, the fourfold tip.
Yeah. So that's about 4. And now you can see I'm going to give it one more. We're going to do a 5-fold.
That's just like, what is this? You guys are going one extra. You've got 9 pleats and 5 folds. And
Extra plus
We
1.
don't really give the recipes in our cookbook. No, because everyone here can cook as well as we do. They're not coming to our restaurant. Well, now Dana's book is perfect. She doesn't have a restaurant, so it's gospel.
That's
right?
very true, very true.
There you go.
Okay, so then the next thing that I did wrong, apparently, so I wanted to roll out the biscuits. And so I rolled them out. You rolled and rolled and rolled. But but Joanne said, actually, that's not at all what you're supposed to do.
So this is what I saw Dana doing. And I said, no. So if you do this, you're rolling the dough forward, and then you're rolling it back.
Which seemed to make sense to me, because I'm trying to roll the dough.
But you end up working it more than you want to. I mean, the whole thing about a flaky biscuit is that you want to manipulate it as little as possible. And so rather than roll back and forth, you want to start in the middle and then roll out, and then pick up your rolling pin, start back in the middle, and then roll back. And that way you're going to roll it out, but manipulate it as little as possible. So you lift up.
And as you just realized, with these wonderful helpers in red, I guess it's red and black, that has great meaning here, they gave you Joanne's biscuits. So
Everybody gets a biscuit. Your biscuits.
My biscuits, but made by Dana's biscuits by Joanne. So she taught me exactly how to roll out the dough. But then I had another problem, which was that when I went to cut the biscuits out, sort of big, well, I turned them, which seemed like the right thing to me because I was trying to really sort of get in there and get down. And that didn't really seem like so much of a problem, because then I would end up with a really pretty large biscuit. But Joanne said that is not the best thing to do.
The problem is that if you do this and you
Yes.
go down like this, you end up crimping the edges, right? Because you're kind of manipulating it. Again, you're manipulating it more than you need to. So if you crimp down the edges, then when it goes into the oven, it might not poof up as much. So what you want to do is take your cutter and then put it on top and then just go straight down and straight up. And you get a clean cut, and then when it goes into the oven, it rises up nice and high.
And you dip it in flour, like you did, right?
Yeah, and then I dipped it in just a little bit of flour. That's a good point. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I was doing, I was giving lots of nice space between my biscuits, and then I had all this leftover, and then I would combine the leftover and re-roll it. Well, you can imagine if I had rolled it an awful lot to begin with, and then I re-put it together so I could roll it again, those were the worst of the worst biscuits. So Joanne said, actually, you need to put them really close together. You need to get as little dough between the biscuits as you cut them out as possible. And then you can still combine them.
Right. You can still combine them, but if you minimize the number of times you combine them, then that's better.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what do you think of those biscuits? That's great.
So we have the swap outs. So these are what you guys are eating, basically.
Exactly. So you've seen them live and in
Do you guys
person.
have biscuits?
Have it.
You have biscuits.
Oh, you have biscuits. Good.
Delicious.
Chicken and biscuits and dumplings. And then
Sugar.
we created a maple pepper glaze on top, which you can probably taste there, I hope, because I love a simple buttermilk biscuit, but I also like changing up the flavors on top. I did an everything bagel topping.
Oh, that's
and,
right.
but I didn't fall in love with that.
Yeah.
I thought that was like more clever than it was delicious. But maple, breakfasty, pepper, and then in the ideal world, of course, you put bacon in the middle, right? You've got maple pepper biscuit with bacon, maybe egg. And that's like the
delicious.
perfect breakfast. As my kids eat their inventions, I get to have great biscuits. So this is, there you can see from above, the biscuit with the cracked pepper on top. So thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome.
That was great. You can- So we're going to go over to the table, and then if you guys, anyone has any questions, what's that?
Oh, there's another check.
No, it's good. No, I'm good. We're happy to answer them. So someone must have questions of some. Oh yes, of course, right away.
Oh, you know.
Thanks. Is there a substitute you can use when making the chicken that will give you the same silky texture without the same amount of, without that much fat?
Yes. So if you took out the heavy cream and just did the yogurt, it'll kind of do the same thing. It will add richness, especially if it's a full-fat yogurt. But if you want to completely get rid of that step, you don't even have to add the butter. I mean, you could, emulsify a little bit of olive oil in, I think would be really nice, or any flavored oils that you might like. Or even, a lot of times you can puree like really rooty, like starchy vegetables, whether it be like a little bit of potato or a little bit of parsnip or something, especially coming in the fall. Add a little bit of, a couple tablespoons of that, and that'll help richen it and round it out for you.
There's one over there.
Over there, the blue,
You and the mustache.
She got someone else?
the blue shirt, blue with that one.
So you're next.
Joanne, how far in advance do you begin planning your seasonal recipes?
We started thinking about Thanksgiving in June. And we actually did, we did Christmas in August. We had a Christmas meeting and we did gingerbread houses. So we feel a little bit like we're like CVS. We're always like, 3 or 4 months before you really want to be thinking about it. But
Thank you. So if I wanted to make pot stickers, but I wanted to make them vegetarian, what kind of vegetables would I use that would taste good?
Beef.
Right.
Actually, using the tofu so I would use 50% more tofu, and that's really your filler. And I would put in, you can get beautiful frozen edamames. Put edamames in there. It's a little bit, saute shiitakes. So take mushrooms. Mushroom is the vegetarian beef. Really is. It has just as much flavor, just as much umami as a good piece of meat. But you just got to make sure that you really do, to Dana's tip, squeeze the water out of that tofu because you can't have that too much moisture inside of it. But I would really put a lot of flavor in the shiitake, so you can add, then of course the garlic, the ginger, the scallions, that can still all go in. But mushrooms, maitake, shiitakes, any mushroom, but saute them first, because you can't put raw mushrooms in there, they'll never cook. But we do a version of that at Blue Dragon, a really tasty vegetarian dumpling. It sells just as much as the braised short rib.
Cool. All right, thank you.
315 A Street. Ming.com.
Really?
This question is for Chef Tsai. I lived in Korea for a while and have been all over Asia. And just wondering, what is your favorite traditional Asian cuisine and what are some tips to make it?
The best Asian cuisine is Chinese. No, seriously, it's proven. Wikipedia it. No, that's gospel. I do think Chinese has the most varied of cuisines because of its size and the ginormous between north, south, east, west. So just the geography and the temperature changes between spicy and the seafood of Hong Kong. I think, is the second question tips on how to make it? You have to have a good wok. I think that's the key cooking vessel for a lot of Chinese cuisine, for frying, for steaming, for wok stirring. I think that's paramount. GGS, as we say, garlic, ginger, scallions. At Myers and Chang, same thing. They're going to start a lot of stir fries with oil and garlic, ginger, scallions. And I think the key is just the whole idea of wok stirring is everything's cut in the shape and size so that when you put it together, they all cook the same way. So the harder vegetables, you cut them smaller. Other vegetables like the leafy spinach, you just add at the very end. And then the really key, you wonder, how come that chicken's so velvety, or how come that pork is so juicy in the beef? It's called blanching. And it's a trick that in Chinese cuisine we do. You have oil and you actually blanch the protein a couple of times first in the oil. You set that aside. You dump the oil out. In a Chinese kitchen, you have like a tin. You dump it. Then you put all the aromatics and you add that blanched protein back. And that's really the secret how you get that velvety texture.
Really?
Really. Just like in Hungary.
Hi. My
Hi.
question's actually for Dana. And I was wondering, what are some of your favorite restaurants in Boston and in New York?
Oh, well. Myers and Chang, blue ginger.
Hungarian goulash in.
One day I'll have one. One day.
Cabbage roll.
The restaurants in Boston are fantastic. I also love Toro, which now there's a Toro in New York. Ken Oranger and Jamie Bissonette, I think, are incredible. Barbara Lynch's restaurants, which is where Kristen was cooked. She was at Stir and then Monton. I love coming up to Boston and eating all around. So it's an endless feast. Today was at Eastern Standard for, I'm not sure what meal it was, if it was at 2 o'clock, but since I eat all day, it doesn't really matter. And in New York, I'm always looking for the next. So I can just give you a little preview. Marta just opened in the Martha Washington Hotel. And it's a restaurant from Danny Meyer, and Nick Andrew is the chef at Maialino, has gone over and he's doing these really delicious pizzas and pasta. It's really fun. Alex Dupac just opened a restaurant called Taqueria El Pastor, and or Empeño Al Pastor, and it's like a $4 taco that will blow your mind. It was really exciting. And then there's a chef from Mexico City named Enrique Olvera who has been working on opening a restaurant for quite a bit, and that's about to open. It's called Cosme, C-O-S-M-E, and I'm excited to eat there. And I could keep going. Justin, just one more, Smiley, who had been at Il Buco al Monteria, it's an Italian. He's opening something called Upland, and I just think he's a fantastic, fantastic cook. So though it's not open, it's something I'm very excited about.
Have you been to Ivan Ramen?
I love Ivan Ramen. So Ivan Orkin is this guy from Long Island who went to Japan and learned how to make a great, amazing bowl of ramen. And he moved back to New York, and he opened something in Gotham West, just like a ramen shop. But then he opened Ivan Ramen, which is a little bit more ambitious and has a very varied and interesting, very small menu on the Lower East Side. Very cute space. And I think he's a complete and total genius. And he uses Sun noodles. A lot of great chefs who make ramen in New York use Sun noodles, but they're made in New Jersey, which is sort of fascinating. I went to taste them, and all the chefs have different formulas for their ramen. And so Sun will make it to the specification of the chefs, and Ivan's are amazing. And he has buckwheat ramen as well.
Ivan was my wife's roommate in CU Boulder.
Come on.
And
That's amazing.
So we went to visit him.
What kind of roommate?
What kind of roommate? You know? That's son of a bitch. And you know, he married Japanese. He just got so into everything Japanese, and he was a gaijin taking on every Japanese ramen chef and says, "I'm going to do the best ramen in Japan." I mean, that's ballsy, right? And they are like, "You're never going to do it." And then, sure enough, every Japanese started lining up, and it's unbelievably good. And then the one side note, which I think is fascinating. So he took my wife and I to this cult Japanese restaurant. There's 2 of them. Does everything pig. Raw.
Oh, sorry.
So we had, which was delicious, and my wife ate it too, is pig brain sashimi. Awesome. Really good.
Do you want to describe that?
We're going to have it at Northeastern, I think, soon. Yeah. It's going to be in the vegetarian line. So it looked like, it looked like sweetbread. It looks like brain. It's brain. And there was onions and soy sauce on it, and it was tender and soft and no off flavor at all. But they did everything: intestine, gallbladder, lung, kidney, everything.
Wow.
So it's awesome if you're kosher.
My question is for Joanne. So for 9 years, I actually lived right around the corner from Flower in the South End. I think I kept you in business. Thank you. And this past May, my husband finally drugged me to the suburbs. The good news is that I can now pass your Back Bay one on my commute from the Back Bay station to my office in Copley. So I'm still getting my fix. But there's nothing like Flower out in the suburbs. So I know you have 4 locations now. Please tell me you have plans to expand into the suburbs.
No, I don't think so. But that was so nice. I want to say yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have learned over the years to never say never. I never thought we would have more than one. I said I would never do more than one, and now we have 4. So I will never say that we'll never go to the suburbs, but a lot of what we do is, each location is specific to the neighborhood that it's in, and with the staff and me and the management team that I have, and we are at all of the locations all the time. And I get nervous about going out to the suburbs. I have a friend, Jody, is she still in the audience? Jody opened a restaurant in the suburbs once, and she said, and I should ask you about this, she said, if you open in the city and in the burbs, you're going to spend all your time commuting. And she said that was really challenging. So that's always stuck with me, that I don't love the idea of spending a lot of time commuting. So maybe if we moved out to the suburbs, I know you live in the burbs.
Yes. Once you hit 50, you go burbs. It's tough. I mean, the suburbs is a challenge. Everywhere Joanne has a Flower is huge lunch traffic, huge breakfast traffic.
Right.
So you get your coffee and the best cinnamon bun ever, right? And then, or not cinnamon bun, your
Sticky bun.
Sticky bun. And then she has a huge lunch business, and it's a bakery, so dinner business is not really what she's looking at. So I agree with Joanne. You would not want to do a Flower out there. And I do spend a lot of time on the Pike. And usually chefs never drive during rush hour because we're always off hours. But I leave Blue Dragon after lunch, and I get that 4 o'clock, and I catch that traffic, and it's a pain in the butt. Absolutely. So she's not opening in the suburbs.
You're going to have to stay Back Bay.
All right, I've got a question, I guess for Dana, although if any of you want to jump in, just go ahead. Since the book is Mastering My Mistakes, what's the worst mistake you've made that you want to admit to making in the kitchen?
That's a good one.
I feel like I've admitted to pretty much everything, so very little to hold back. I think that the worst mistake probably, it has to be one that threatened my life and the life of my family, and that was when I had a butterflied lamb, and I had it in the broiler, and I walked away to change my son's diaper, and the oven caught on fire. That was the worst, because it took my mother, who's the original non-cook, to say, Dana. And I just heard this small voice.
Lamb is done.
I think you need to come back to the kitchen. And I'm changing a diaper. And you know how you have that thing with your mother, you're like, shut up. I'm doing something very important here. And suddenly there seemed to be some urgency in her voice, and I'm like, what? You know, like how many syllables you can have with what when you talk to your mother. And I was like, oh my God, the oven's on fire. I'm not sure exactly why she didn't put the fire out, but that, I think, was the worst.
Ms. Chang?
I remember when I was first starting out in New York, I worked at Paillard Patisserie, and Francois entrusted me with making wedding cakes, which I was very proud of. And so I made a wedding cake, you know, big, huge monstrosity, and was very proud of it. It went out, and that evening I was still in the kitchen, and there was a phone call in the kitchen line, and I picked it up, and it was the bride, and she called me from her reception. I had forgotten to take out the magic liner, that plastic liner. And so she and her new husband were trying to cut the cake and they couldn't cut it. And for some reason, I mean, she was pissed, and then she decided right at that moment she had to call me. So that was definitely, I mean, I'm incredibly embarrassed still. It was bad.
That's horrible.
Top that.
Here you go, ladies
Oh
first.
my God. Meatloaf. I made it once. I have yet to make it since. And the person I was cooking for actually will eat anything. Side note, he ate this one time when I decided I would try to dehydrate peaches and turn them into a powder and put them into gnocchi. Don't ever do it. But he ate that, but he wouldn't even eat my meatloaf. I don't know what I did wrong. I will never make meatloaf ever again, period. Guaranteed.
But the filling in your cabbage rolls is like
It's sort of like meatloaf, but I don't know what the problem is. Putting it in a loaf, all of a sudden it just doesn't work.
Maybe taking the Wonder Bread out of that and putting
No,
it in
oats,
the thing.
oats.
Oats?
Yeah, my mother used to do.
Dried oats, so it took all the moisture out of the loaf.
Yeah, the extra ketchup. No, I added mushrooms and like all this weird meat and like salamis and stuff. I was making meat loaf, like every meat, putting it in a loaf, so it just made sense to me. Don't do it.
Those Slim Jims don't
I
work
know,
so
they
well.
don't, they're awful.
Hard to cut.
Really bad.
I was at Fauchon in Paris with Pierre Hermé, who's really still one of the best pastry chefs in the world. Master of sugar blowing, right? So he could blow anything and boom. And so France was trying to get Disney to come. This is when Paris, London, all these European countries were trying to get Disneyland to be built. And so he was commissioned to build a 4-foot Mickey Mouse. And he could do anything. He did a perfect Mickey Mouse to be put in the window. So he blew this thing. It took him about a week to do. It's in the back room to dry, because you want it to dry before you put it in the window. And I don't know what possessed me, but I'm like, hey, what if I touch the dunk? I touched the belly, and there is my thumbprint. I'm like, holy shit. and if you know anything about sugar, you can't paint over that. You can't do anything. And for like literally for the last 3 days, or the 3 days afterwards, I had nightmares that he was going to line us all up and say, what moron touched Mickey on the belly? And I'm like, I'm going to burn my thumbs, you know. Oh, not my boy, chef. I don't have thumbprints. And yeah, that was the stupidest thing ever. He never caught it. It got in the window, and then he never saw it again, thank God.
Sounds very special. I think we probably have time for one more question. Right there. You, who just turned around wondering if it was you. Yes.
Well, this is for all 4 of you. What would be the perfect last meal for you guys?
Biscuits, chicken, and pot stickers? Duh.
I think, I would, I love fried chicken. So I think that it would have to involve, if it was gonna be my last meal, I would have to have one of every single thing that I loved. It would be a little bit appalling, but it would be fried chicken, and it would be an eclair, and it would be a milkshake, and I don't think there'd be a vegetable, actually. Some really great bread. And if I was gonna be my last meal and I was really indulged, I'd probably get things from around the world. So, I'd get like sushi from Japan and oysters.
It's a 50-year last meal, right? You don't want to die. So
Exactly.
It's gonna go
No one said it had to be short. It was like last meal. So yeah, I think, but fried chicken would definitely be an important part of it.
I would do pizza, ice cream, sushi, and I'd have my mom cook for me.
Wow.
That's very hard to follow
That's a
up.
hard one to follow, Kristen.
I know. I was actually going to sort of say the same thing, but especially when you're cooking all day and, you know, like rarely, unless you go out to dinner, like do people like come to your home and cook for you? It quite frankly never happens. So I would say, although I am a fan of frozen chicken fingers and ranch dressing, I would say that quite frankly, anyone that I love or trust or anybody like that, for them to come to my home and cook me dinner, because that's a really special feeling. So.
Okay. It would be two things, and they'd probably both be Chinese. One would be Peking duck, because there's nothing better than Peking duck. But I would have to have a French Burgundy with it, because duck and Pinot is by far the best. And then, yeah, no, just that. Just that.
That's a perfect note on which to end. I want to thank all of you so much for coming. I want to thank Northeastern so much for for hosting. You can come back.
So I just want to thank our fantastic, phenomenal talent that we had here tonight. We are so thankful for you guys for coming to Northeastern University to celebrate our Exhibition Kitchen's 10th anniversary. Dana, thank you so much. The book is absolutely beautiful. Joanne, I can't thank you enough for the many times that you've been here. Ming, goes without saying, we'd love to have you back. And definitely everybody has to go to Blue Dragon for the fried chicken. I can't tell you how good it is. And Kristen, we hope that you will definitely join us in the Exhibition Kitchen. So at the end of this, we're going to have Dana out in the gallery. She will be signing books. So anybody who had the good fortune of winning one of the books from Dining Services, please, if you want to have it personalized, they are all signed, but please come and meet Dana personally and have it personalized. And the INU bookstore is in the gallery too. So again, thank you guys all for coming, and thank you.